Hi, everyone. My name is Mark Vena, host of the SmartTechCheck podcast. Today is Tuesday, July 30th, 2024. Sports sponsorships are crucial for ingredient-based technology companies as they provide significant visibility and brand recognition among diverse audiences. By associating with popular sports events and teams, these companies can showcase their technological innovations in real-world applications, building trust and credibility. Sponsorships also offer opportunities for product demonstrations and experiential marketing, allowing consumers to directly engage with the technology, which can lead to increased adoption and loyalty. This strategic alignment not only enhances the company's market presence, but also drives growth through amplified consumer interest and engagement. I'm thrilled to be joined today by Don McGuire, Chief Marketing Officer at Qualcomm, about what his company is doing in the sports sponsorship area. And I can tell you that there's a lot going on. So, Don, welcome to the podcast. How are you?
I'm great. How are you? Thanks for having me.
That's great. I know you're a busy guy. Lots going on in this space. A lot of interesting stuff. Before we get into, actually, you know what? Before I get into your bio, and I've got a bio slide on you because I love my guest to kind of introduce them to my audience. You guys had some big news today. You did a press release on yet a new Snapdragon solution, the 4S, which is allowing you to get into more cost-effective markets. We're going to be talking about sports sponsorships, but anything you want to add to that in terms, because it is relevant. You're bringing 5G to the masses, so to speak, from a price point standpoint. But any color commentary you might want to provide?
Yeah, I mean, I think we've always been a company historically that brings critical technology to market, and we start in the premium space, and then as the markets scale and as infrastructure catches up. And as adoption scales worldwide, we like to drive and waterfall those features right into more tiers. 5G is one of those technology shifts, one of those wireless generational shifts that started a few years ago, and it started like any other of these types of technology shifts. It starts out in the developed world first, and then it gets scale, and then it starts to be waterfalled. And so we like to keep track with that and then bring our technology solutions as those markets are ready to stand up, A, the infrastructure, and B, the market adoption. So we just launched 4S primarily and largely for the India market as India's 5G proliferation continues and the infrastructure gets stood up and the market is ready to drive 5G adoption in a big way. 4S is right-sized, right-featured, right-priced to be able to drive mass adoption of 5G in that market. And it's all part of our Snapdragon for India initiative that we've rolled out. We had a big event in India yesterday to launch, and super excited about the prospects.
Well, the India market is not a small market, so that's obviously a big deal. But I appreciate that. That's a great perspective on that. Let's talk about Don McGuire. Don, what do you do? And then we'll go into kind of the sponsorship component, really, which is really the core component of this podcast. Sure. But I'd love to talk about yourself for a few minutes.
Yeah, no problem. Chief Marketing Officer here at Qualcomm. Been at Qualcomm now almost 8 years. CMO for almost 4. So I've passed that critical CMO 10-year hurdle that everyone likes to talk about. But it's been exciting. It's been fun. It's been challenging. It's been sort of all of the above. But it makes you get up and want to go to work every day for sure. Never a dull moment here. And I've been kind of all over the ecosystem in my career, mostly in tech. I kind of pride myself that I grew up a tech marketer. But I've done my stint in sales, in general management and in other areas. I think that's also helped bring an understanding as a marketer, as a CMO, into how I approach marketing, right? So marketing and sales needs to work hand in hand. You kind of can't have one without the other. So I understand that very well, having my sales background. And then from, being a general manager and having a P&L, just understanding that anything you do from a marketing perspective has to drive business value. And it has to help your business achieve its goals. So tying brand value to business value is something that I feel very strongly about and I believe in. And so that's how I sort of orchestrate philosophically my approach and my team's approach to marketing. Had lots of roles in different places. Most recently, before joining Qualcomm, at Intel, but I've been around the mobile, mobile app, consumer electronics, and sort of semi industries for most of my career. And I started my journey, at college. I'm a state school kid. Pretty much educated my entire life in public school, so pretty proud of that as well. And then I had the pleasure of doing a little bit of executive MBA sort of short program at Stanford for a few weeks.
Well,
Enjoyed that.
you know, Don, about your background, we talked about that when we went to the soccer game out in England a few months ago, is that, you just don't have a pure marketing background. You have a product background as well. And I find, because I'm both a product and marketing guy, having those sets of attributes is really critical, because when you're, not to say that you can't be a successful CMO and have a pure marketing background, but the reality is, marketing technology, especially from an ingredient standpoint, is a different discipline in my view. And I think, it's interesting that you have that background.
Yeah, I mean, I think growing up in that product marketing sort of track has for a tech marketer, I think gives you some strengths because you really have to understand your product.
Right.
When you're a tech marketer, and so I think that's played to my advantage. That's helped me as I've ascended to the CMO role here at Qualcomm. And every CMO has their strengths, and there's so many things involved in being a CMO. There's so many different parts of the marketing mix. Marketing is a soft science, as you know, right? There is the science part about it, but there's also the intuitive part about it. So you kind of have to have both. But I think having a strong product marketing background has given me an advantage.
Hey folks, this is Mark Vina, CEO of SmartTech Research. SmartTech Research is proud to have Aura sponsoring my SmartTechCheck podcast. Aura security software is the all-in-one digital safety net for the whole family. It's literally like having a personal cyber guardian that protects all of the devices in your home on a 24/7 basis. What's more, its AI functionality stands out as it constantly learns and adapts to threats, keeping your family and you safe around the clock. It's a must-have solution for anyone serious about online security. Stay tuned for a special no-obligation promo offer for Aura that will give you cybersecurity peace of mind.
Hi, I'm Anna with SmartTech Research. Whether you're browsing the web, checking emails, monitoring your children's online behavior, spam calls and identity protection, and conducting online transactions, Aura has your back, ensuring a secure and seamless experience every time. Aura's comprehensive security solutions are compatible with Microsoft Windows, Apple Mac OS, Android, iOS, and iPad OS devices. For an exclusive 14-day no-obligation trial version of Aura, use the on-screen QR code or visit the website shown here. Aura is the smart, simple way to stay safe online.
As I ascended to CMO here at Qualcomm, just because you really have to understand your product. You really have to understand value proposition and USPs and what differentiates you. And technology moves very fast. So your innovation cycles are a lot quicker, and you have to be able to react to that or proact to that. Where, versus marketing consumer goods, right? Which may change, every several years or something like that, when you add a new flavor to your mix, or you introduce an ultra version of something or whatever. And no offense against, growing up in the CPG world, that teaches a lot of marketers some very fundamental marketing skills. And so that's very important as well. And again, like I said, you can't be amazing at everything, even as a CMO. But I think I've had a broad enough distributed background, and I've dabbled in the different parts of the marketing mix throughout my career, which, makes me just dangerous enough, across the board. But I do believe that a deep rooted experience in product marketing has served me well.
Well, and I will just say, as we kind of bridge into the sports sponsorship piece, the thing you left out a little bit is, but ingredient technology marketing is a toughie. Because, and we could talk about this forever, but when you are meeting with the Dells of the world and the Lenovos of the world, and yes, the new Snapdragon, just to use that as an example, the elite stuff, it really is really creating a brand new category in the thin and light laptop space. Well, guess what? I mean, every OEM wants to promote different messages, and I've been on many of your calls, and that's a real important, that's a challenging piece, because every OEM wants to kind of message what they want to message, and obviously, you're trying to promote the chief CPU technology and SoC technology in the device, and that is not for the faint of heart because I've been through those. I've been through those as well.
It is not. Having to build awareness and affinity around a brand that is attached to a product that you can't walk into a store and buy.
Yes.
That is a unique challenge. And I would say, and I hate to use the word ingredient brand because I think it's a misnomer. And I think Intel proved this, right? Masterfully for 25 years in building the value of what it means to be Intel Inside, and directly with consumers, directly with people who are looking to that space, that PC space, for their next device and what they need from it, and driving not only awareness of what Intel, is and does, but that they should be first and foremost looking for that, right? And which is juxtaposed to the way a lot of people shop for stuff, right? It's like, oh, whatever's brand's on the outside of it. Oh, I like that brand, I'm going to buy that. But when it comes to technology and products that help you live your digital life, or help you be more creative or more productive, or experience things as everybody has become more digital in their world, it is important about what's powering those experiences. And it's less about, the fit and finish and the look and feel, although that's really important. But it's really like, is this thing going to work? Is it going to do what I need it to do? And that's an important question. And that's where we come in. And so I believe with Snapdragon, we have a huge opportunity because I have such a wide berth across so many product categories that are so important in people's lives. That and it's grown even into more, obviously, with the addition of automotive over the past couple of years. But these are truly devices that people use every day, and they're premium, and they're mobile, and they give people the power, right, to explore their passions and to be more productive, to be more creative, to try new things, to experience their digital lives. And really move their life forward. And so that's a really good place to start, and a really good brand ethos to wrap yourself around. And then plus we just have a really cool name, right? and a cool icon. So my predecessors of marketers within Qualcomm did a very nice job coming up with the name and the brand look and feel, and the iconography around it with the fireball. I had a great place to start.
Yes. Well, and I would also argue, because we could talk about this for hours, that Intel, which was kind of the poster child for inventing like brand marketing and technology, it morphed into something a lot different down the path. And I think I like the way you've been kind of positioning things, is that it became this brand. And I don't want to pick on Intel, but the reality is that there was so much money spent that the OEMs became dependent on those dollars. And without getting into that whole, that discussion that happened with, toward the end of the Intel Inside empire, so to speak, or era, it kind of morphed into something a lot different, and it did not, I think, promote the usage models that I think you guys are going to do, and that's actually a great bridge into the whole sports sponsorship topic. Sure. I mean, just before we get into what you guys are doing, why are sports sponsorships so important? Because you don't really see a lot of that in the technology space. You see a lot of it in the consumer packaged goods side. You see it with other, consumable products, but you don't see a lot of it. First of all, you take the investment it's not trivial. It's not $100,000. It's a lot more than $100,000. And it requires, up and down alignment and commitment with the senior executive team to make, hey, we're going to make a big bet and a big investment here. So from your perspective, why is it so important?
I would start with, for what are your objectives, right?
Yeah.
You mentioned, CPG brands have been in sports marketing for a long time. I agree with you. I think recently, sort of tech brands have gotten the memo, or whatever you want to call it. And because tech is moving fast and furiously into sports. Look at the Olympics, right? If every other ad was a Meta ad, a Google ad, a Copilot ad, a whatever, like, and then all of a sudden you see like some pharmaceutical that, may cause you to die. So that's the suite of advertising, really, that's going on around the Olympics. So I think tech brands have gotten that memo, and they're moving in fast and furiously across the sports sort of spectrum. But why sports for us specifically is, as we look at these brand partnerships, we've decided philosophically and strategically to align these partnerships with what our platform enables, right? So, and it's all around passion. So our platform enables these amazing experiences, as I mentioned, right, across photography, music, entertainment, the productivity, creativity, the power to experience things through multiple sizes of screens or interactions, both now and in the future. And so when we look at, okay, how should we build brand and who do we want to align with and attach ourselves to, we look at those passion areas. And sports is an area where people are very passionate, whether it's about a player, a team, a league, a sport, whatever that might be. It drives passion, it drives emotion, and it drives attachment. So then picking that right sort of place for you to intersect that is from a marketer's perspective, seems like a pretty safe space, but it's then nuanced about like where and who and what best aligns with your brand. And that's that next step. So when we looked at sports, we looked at a couple things. First of all, we looked at reach and scale. So if we're going to be in sports, where should we play? And one of our objectives for building Snapdragon as a cultural iconic consumer brand is scale, right? We're a global company. Our chips show up in devices around the world. So we need something with global reach. Well, the biggest sport in the world is global football, bar none. And so, okay, great. Global football gives us scale. It gives us reach. Snapdragon is a premium brand. We have a premium brand ethos that we have built. So within global football, where is the premium football league? It's in the UK. It's the EPL, yes. Right? The EPL has that brand ethos. They have that reputation as the premier football league in the world. Okay, great. So we go from global football to EPL. And then within EPL, what is that franchise? What is that team that, again, lines with our brand values, has that reach, has that scale, has that longevity, and checks the boxes for us? And when we did the math and we did the research on that, Manchester United was the perfect fit for us.
Right.
Limit on brand values, integrity, longevity, scale, and reach 1.1 billion fans around the world. And so they aligned with us perfectly. So that's how we got to Manchester United for global football, we went EPL.
Yeah, let me just jump in for a second time. I mean, what's really important here is that Qualcomm came at things. I mean, Qualcomm is very fortunate in the sense that from a product and technology standpoint, especially with Snapdragon, it was already coming from that premium space. You didn't have to kind of build up the premium brand nature by itself of Snapdragon. So that is real important here because, now, of course, the global piece is important too, which is where the Manchester football comes into play. But, lining those two ships is a big, big deal. And I just want to make sure that the audience gets that.
Yeah, it's a big deal. I mean, you really have to look at these things. And like, I've never had enough, budget to go slap my logo on stuff, just to slap my logo on stuff. Right. And a lot of brands do that. Right. And then they just kind of let it be what it's going to be. And there's value in that. But I have to drive like true ROI out of these partnerships. So the strategic upfront piece that you and I just talked about, really important so that you make sure you're aligned and you make sure you make the right bet. I mean, people are coming at me daily. Right. Become the front of shirt partner of X, become the official partner of Y. Right. And it's coming, especially since we did our Manchester United front of shirt deal, like literally daily. I can't tell you how many emails I get about, we want Snapdragon to be our XYZ partner. And that's great. And, and I read every email and I open every email, but it's really about what is going to be the best alignment, what's going to help you achieve your objectives. And then the other side is how can you help with your technology, your partner, right? So how can we help Manchester United become a better football club for the fans, right? For the back office, for the players, for the team. So because we have the power of technology and our technology can help, whether it's the reimagination of Old Trafford and the new stadium that they're going to be building, whether it's bringing technology to the pitch, whether it's creating amazing fan experiences for people to experience both in stadium, around stadium, and globally around the world, bringing Snapdragon technology to grow that prowess for the club, for the team, is the other side of the coin. But also that creates storytelling richness, and it brings value, it brings proof points, it brings reasons to believe, and it puts your technology into action, which helps you overcome that ingredient that, oh, you can't go buy a Snapdragon thing, by actually building experiences around the brand. So that's another piece to this. So that's how we got to Manchester United. We didn't stop there. Obviously, we're in Formula One. Yes. I've got my love for Mercedes Formula One team here T-shirt on today, and we've also engaged in esports because our technology is amazing for gamers, and so being in esports and being involved in esports is a natural, again, brand fit for us. So we've branched out within the sports community, but we also have things in music, and we've done things with Shot on Snapdragon photography. And obviously our Snapdragon X platform is all about creativity and productivity in the PC space. So we have branched out in doing partnerships that really align with those brand values. Manchester United happens to be the biggest, and we have multiple product categories that we can market to and through with this partnership. So it allows us a lot of flexibility to build value for the business by utilizing this partnership.
Well, and you also mentioned, by the way, and it's not just true of the stadium, the arena in Europe, but stadiums today are becoming connectivity is so incredibly important to have a really cool, immersive in-game experience. When you're paying a couple $100 or more to go to a sporting event, having that connectivity experience with that smartphone in your hand, and it's got to be reliable, it's got to be dependable. There's promotional opportunities for the teams that are playing. There's information sharing. There's all kinds of things that I think Qualcomm has huge benefits in. It's we're talking, of course, about the Snapdragon piece of it, but the connectivity piece is a big thing as well.
Sure, absolutely, absolutely. It's paramount to taking fans' experiences to the next level, yes. Especially in stadium. So we're, and we've got a lot of involvement in that piece of it as well, because it works. They really truly work together.
And this also maps to what, we kind of glossed past that word about usage models. We talked about some of the challenges in the 80s and 90s with Intel Inside. That was more about, hey, you make sure you focus on the brand of something inside a box like a personal computer. But the world has changed a lot from a marketing standpoint. It's all about usage models. How does that technology change your life in some way? Whether it's at the smartphone level, whether it's at the connectivity level, whether now it's at the ARM-based Snapdragon Elite PC level. And I can tell you, as you've got a very close relationship with Microsoft, which allows you to enable a lot of cool things that could have never been done before in Windows with Copilot Plus. So let's talk about the usage model stuff piece, because I think that really contributes to this whole discussion.
Yeah, it kind of goes hand in hand with how successful can you be with these partnerships. Again, it's one thing to just slap your logo on stuff. It's another thing to show up at and activate within different matches, games, environments. But you're not going to ultimately be successful in sports marketing unless you tap into fandom in a very authentic way. Mm-hmm. If fans do not believe that you are authentically relevant in their world of fandom around their player, their club, their team, their whatever, whatever you're doing is going to fall short. So authenticity and tapping into emotion and fandom is that secret sauce to actually truly being successful. And you're mentioned about usage models and things like that. Take the Eric Cantona launch film that we did for the launch of Front of Shirt with Manchester United. A brilliant piece of content that I have to give all credit to my internal team, the Manchester United team, and our wonderful agency partner, Greenlight Media in marketing, who built this film, and to Eric Cantona, who delivered so brilliantly in the film. But if you look at the film, it's a combination of fandom. The city of Manchester is the backdrop, right? The fans are integrated in some historic moments in Manchester United history Bend It Like Beckham, right? These historic moments in fandom are all featured. And then guess what? Subtly, technology is featured. And even in Eric's script about tying sports, not just to numbers, but to emotion, to passion, to creativity, and then showcasing what our technology can do to help unlock that for fans, whether it's through Snapdragon Sound, through a smartphone, through a PC, through a car. We've integrated all the Snapdragon product categories into this film, but in a very subtle and authentic way. So it didn't disrupt, it didn't disturb, it didn't feel yucky to fans. And the response has been over the top positive from both fans, right? Our partners, both Manchester United and others that we featured in it, as well as the team, the rest of the EPL. And I've gotten so many messages from other marketers across the spectrum of brands saying, what a fantastic piece of content. This is the way these types of things should be launched, right? So we're getting kudos from across the ecosystem for this piece of content, but it speaks to those usage models. But it's beyond, let me just show you this cool tech demo, fan A, B, and C. Don't you like it? Well, no, maybe I don't like it. Maybe I don't want to see it right now. Maybe I'm engaged in something else. Oh, but let me show you how this is going to enable you to experience your fandom better, faster, different, more creative, more passionate, whatever it might be. This is going to help you engage better with and wrap around your fandom and how you feel about your team or this player or whatever it is. If you can make that connection, that's the secret sauce. And I think we've done that brilliantly. And the numbers speak for themselves. We've already reached over 1 million impressions for the brand. And
so let's talk about that because, let's shift it to a bit of a business discussion because we've got about 3 or 4 minutes left here. Yeah. You are accountable that the spend is performing like it is. You mentioned that magic word or magic set of initials, ROI. It's not like, hey, I saw a logo out there. It makes me feel good. You're accountable for how that's delivering and how it's, promoting all your brand goals. So let's talk about how you guys measure the performance.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, so we look at both kind of hardcore metrics on brand funnel metrics from the top all the way through, and what it's doing for our awareness levels and how it's building affinity for the brand and perception and sentiment and all those types of metrics. And we looked at that from day one all the way through, and we're now in week 3 of it seems like year 3, but we're in week 3 of the brand of the launch of Front of Shirt. It's so much stuff has happened.
Sure.
We've already reached over 1 billion impressions for the brand in less than a month.
Did you get a billion impressions?
1 billion.
Yeah.
In less than a month. We had 250 million in the first 48 hours. It's the biggest Front of Shirt launch in Manchester United history. As far as fan engagement, number of whatever metric you want to measure. Right, social impressions, right? Articles.
By the way, those are global impressions too. They're not
global
specific.
Impressions.
Yeah,
global impressions, and that's not even measuring all the TikTok videos of people like putting on the jersey and dancing around. Like we have yet to measure that. And so it's huge. It's massive. By every metric, we're blowing it out of the water. Like even exceeded our wildest dreams. The away kit, which just launched a couple of days ago, that the team just played in LA. The fastest selling away kit in the history of the team. So people are buying these jerseys. And remember, there's a Manchester United jersey sold once every 15 seconds in the world. And those millions of people are like a little army of brand advocates walking around with your logo on their chest, right? And so super happy from a jersey sales perspective, super happy from an exposure and awareness perspective. So the top of the funnel is looking fantastic from this Front of Shirt launch. And we're only 3 weeks in, and they're going to play their first match in their home jerseys. That's going to be broadcast tomorrow here in San Diego at Snapdragon Stadium on ESPN. But they haven't even played a regular season match yet. So imagine when we get to Community Shield in London on August 10th, when they have a rematch against Man City, right, for the Community Shield. Imagine the exposure that we're going to get just from that one match. So we're just at the beginning of this, but the efficiency and the metrics so far in the 3 weeks since launch of Front of Shirt have been over the top amazing. And we're just getting started. So very bullish on the future and this journey together with the team, the club, and Adidas on, blowing this out of the water and continuing to build on the momentum that we've started.
Yeah, I mean, it's really unbelievable. I wish I could talk to you for another half an hour about this, because there's just so many good things are coming together. And again, from my perspective, it doesn't happen very often when there's a company that has a really rich premium brand experience that is completely different from what you're doing with Manchester right now, but you're proceeding from a position of strength. And then all of a sudden now you kind of pull this Manchester sponsorship relationship into it. And it's kind of like Reese's peanut butter, chocolate's great, peanut butter's good, but you bring it together, it's really, really good. So I can only imagine,
the peanut butter cup of sports marketing.
Exactly.
I'll tell the Manchester United folks that today when I see them later on. Like, we are the peanut butter cup. That's a good analogy, Mark. But I will tell you that our job isn't done. The awareness is great, the exposure is great, the impressions are great. But now it's not just about what is Snapdragon or who is Snapdragon. We need to build understanding, of what we do, not just who we are, but what we do and why it matters. Because that's going to translate into business value. That's going to make our OEM partners proud to use our technology inside their devices. That's going to make consumers look for us next time they're shopping for a new PC, right? Because there's so much affinity for the brand. That's the journey that we're on. Those are the next steps that we have to actually achieve.
Well, you've got a lot of tailwind behind you, and I wish you a lot of success. And I'm sure we'll be following this up with a discussion 6 months from now. So, Don, again, thanks for taking the time to join me for today's podcast. For a viewing and listening audience, thanks for making the SmartTechCheck podcast part of your day or commute. Please make sure that you hit the like and subscribe buttons at the end of today's podcast, or use these convenient on-screen QR codes to connect with me. You can also follow me on X at Mark Vena Tech Guy. By the way, that QR code will connect to the Snapdragon section on the Qualcomm site for additional information. But Don, thanks again. And until next time, have a great week.
Thanks a lot, Mark.